good morning to you, and welcome to another edition of the Art Lewis Show here on WSGW for a Monday morning. We have talked about doing this many times and have finally gotten around to it. Don't know why I waited so long. But in the news over the last many years, we've heard a lot about the Muslim faith. We've certainly heard a lot about the radicalization of the Muslim faith. But we never really sat down and talked to Muslims about how they feel about their faith and about how they feel about the news and the comments made and what life is like for them because of that. So today we are going to do that. Two guests in studio. I'm proud to say I know both of them and have for quite some time, particularly one of them. I say good morning, first of all, to Dr. Waheed Akbar. Good morning, Waheed.
Morning, Art. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Glad you're with us. And also with us, and he's been here before too, and we are pleased to say good morning to Dr. Sarosh Anwar.
Good morning.
Sarosh, good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start. I think before we get into the conversation about your faith, maybe a little background about where you're from. Waheed, you are originally from?
I'm from Pakistan, but really U.S. is home. I have been here 3 times almost longer than I was in Pakistan. I came to the U.S. in 76, and I have been in Saginaw since 82.
And you've been practicing here in Saginaw. You and your late wife practiced here in Saginaw.
Continuously since that time.
And Sarosh, your home was?
My home was also Pakistan originally. Came to the U.S. in 1990. First time visited Saginaw in January of 91, but settled here after finishing my cardiology training in 97.
All right. I have to ask both of you this because it seems to me, for whatever reason, Saginaw has been a magnet for the medical profession, particularly doctors from that part of the world. Why is that? What happened? How did that happen?
I think I find it interesting to see how people will come from some part of the world, and my personal experience is my friends from Ireland. When I came, there were so many physicians from Ireland who were here, and then waves keep on coming of immigrants, and I don't mind saying that I have been part of it, been very proud of it, both representing Saginaw and physicians from Pakistan and the international community, that we have a community which is very welcoming. And I'm not just talking about the Muslim community, I'm talking about this Great Lakes Bay Area community at large. We have trouble at times recruiting people to come the first time, but once they come and spend 6 months or a year, which happened to me personally as well. Originally I came, I thought it'll be there for a couple of years, and it's a long story, but and that was July of 1982, and have never thought twice since that time.
The man who came to dinner.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I think that's what has happened is then as the community grows, then people have other friends who are physicians and who are finishing their residency. And the second thing I think the Pakistani community has done, and which I'm proud of, is serving the underserved areas in a 50-mile radius. There are several physicians in Cairo, there are several physicians in Standish. There are physicians in all over mid-Michigan who are from Pakistan, and they have served this community at large where other physicians are hesitant to go. So that is how the community has grown.
And Sarosh, what brought you here?
So at med school, many of my mentors were either physicians who were Americans or who had trained in the U.S. and gone back to Pakistan. So originally I came here to follow in their footsteps because the U.S. has the best post-med school training in the world. Eventually, because I had family in the Saginaw area, I ended up coming here. And for the last 18 years, every Thursday I head to Bad Axe, which is the nicest day of the week for me. Over the years, you bond with folks. Just a couple months ago, I saw a lady who's 86, but her mom used to be one of my first patients. So I was sitting reminiscing with that 86-year-old lady about her mom. And again, especially small town America, almost everyone asks about my wife and kids. And I have a very warm feeling whenever I'm done with my day at work.
Just for the audience knows, Sarosh is a cardiologist, and Waheed, you practice in orthopedics, basically.
Orthopedics and spine.
And spine, right?
Combined practice.
Yeah. All right. So you are both Muslim, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Grew up, born and raised?
Yes.
Not converts. We were born and raised.
We were born in the faith.
Into the faith. There's no other way to do this, no other way to ask this question. What do you think about what's happening today in what some claim is the name of your faith?
I think it's a shame, Art, what's happening. This is a very fringe minority group, which for political reasons, I think partly, I don't mind using the word because of their twisted minds, are giving a bad name to the faith each and every time they do an act of terrorism, of murdering people, innocent people, whatever explanation they give, that hurts Islam. So I do not really see in any way or form that they are representing anything the faith teaches. Every time they use an excuse either from the Quran or from the sayings of the Prophet, when we go back and trace them back, they have really twisted it around in their own way to justify their heinous acts that they've committed. And literally it makes us nauseous when we hear what they have done, and then they use the Quran or the sayings of the Prophet to justify that. People, leadership around the world, Muslim leaders locally in multiple countries have basically said that these are not Muslim, these people are not Muslim, they do not represent Islam, but they keep on doing it in the name of Islam.
So about 40 years ago, a group of folks who call themselves Muslims, their religious leaders came up with the idea that we should go back to our roots and practice everything the way Islam used to be practiced 1400 years ago in Prophet Muhammad's time. Now, they don't have a time machine that they can actually go back and prove it to everyone else, but their concept of how everything should be. And in their eyes, the 99% of other Muslims who do not believe their way are not Muslims. And they're out to terrorize folks and have killed, I would say, over 100,000 Muslims in the last 10 years in Muslim-majority countries, about 100 Muslims for every non-Muslim, because in their eyes, the vast majority of Muslims are not Muslims. And they are a very perverted vision of Islam, are criminals, but are trying to force their beliefs on everyone else.
A number of people, including the president, have suggested that the Muslim community has to take the bull by the horns, so to speak, and go after some of these radicals. It would seem to me, and I'm sitting here, not over in any of those countries where the radicals are headquartered. It seems to me that many Muslims in those countries live in fear. They're not going to stand up. They're oppressed, aren't they?
I think that's partly true, but the best example I can give from the country I come, which is Pakistan, which has had its own turmoil because of the turmoil in Afghanistan and its own internal political turmoil. But if you look at the last 2 or 3 years since Pakistan has had a relatively stable democratic government and has had an army, they have been after these extremists in a very aggressive fashion for the last 24 months, if I'm not wrong. And in those 24 months, they have made a big difference in eliminating that. As Sarosh was saying earlier, that they kill many, many more Muslims in Muslim-majority countries than they kill anywhere else. So Pakistan had a major problem with bombs and random killings. And those have been, I can't use the word eliminated, but almost eliminated. So the countries which have their own house in order, which no matter what we hear sometimes on TV, Pakistan has its house in order relatively better than it has had in the past. And they are working very hard, and they have support of the general public. And the fear factor that you're talking about from within the people has decreased because the army has been able to lead an attack against these extremists and almost eliminated them.
Within Islam, are there different sects within Islam?
So there's tremendous diversity in Islam. As a teenager growing up in Pakistan, less than 1% of the population was Christian, And my friends and I used to speculate, how do Christians worship in their churches? What do they believe? And we used to think all of them worship exactly the same way and have exactly the same beliefs. And then I came here and I met Southern Baptists and Unitarians and Protestants and such tremendous diversity. Even when I was lucky enough to visit St. Peter's Cathedral a few years ago, tremendous statuary. You go to a Protestant church, no statuary at all. So similarly within Muslims, one, there are larger groupings, 90% are considered Sunnis, 10% Shias, but even within each of them, huge denominations. All of them would agree on monotheism, that there is one God, but otherwise humans read the same scripture and come up with different understanding of what God desires us to do. There are Sufis, Muslim mystics, there's a group in Fenton, who have a lot of singing, chanting like Gregorian monks, dancing in their practices, and I love to go at least once or twice a month and share in their prayer services.
So there is differences, and as they are in Christianity and others, and I'm Jewish, you guys both know me, and the struggles between some of these sects and religions is historic, thousands of years. These are not new battles, some of them anyway.
Yes, no, they're not.
And I think that, you know, for us as Americans to sit here and think we can solve those problems that are historic and inbred, this is not going to happen, is it?
Very unlikely.
I think it's very important for us as Americans to understand what you just said, that these are problems and there could be any problems. It could be a problem in a household, it could be a problem within a religion, it could be a problem within a sect. People, they have to sit down and put their house in order. We are not going to be able to do that. I have some friends who I tremendously respect. They will sometimes have letters from them to say, why don't you put your house in order? And sitting in America, even as a Muslim who has roots, very strong roots in Pakistan because of family roots, I have really nothing personally there. I know that I cannot even guide them or tell them. They will have to put their own house in order. So as a U.S. government, I think it's going to be so difficult for us to tell them. And I think the people in the Muslim world are realizing that the only way these problems are going to be fixed if they put their whole house in order. I think Syria is the best example. We can see that as they have tried to, quote-unquote, solve their problems, they have become worse because they were not sitting on a table and talking. They thought they can fix it with guns. And we know where Syria is right now.
All right, we're going to take a break, come back. We will talk to our guests. We'll also include some calls. Paul, hang on. We will get to you shortly. It is 9:23 here on WSGW. Let me take a moment to talk about my friends at the Thalen Auto Group in Bay City. They have that row of dealerships on North Euclid Avenue that represent Audi and Honda, Mazda, Subaru, Volkswagen, Kia, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram truck. And as a result, they sell a lot of new cars. And of course, when you sell a lot of new cars, you take in a lot of inventory and trade. They take all of that, they inspect them, they bring them up to Thalen's high standards before they ever go on the lot. And that lot is big. As a matter of fact, one of the largest selections of pre-owned vehicles in the Great Lakes Bay region. You can choose from all styles, all makes, including certified used cars from their various dealerships. And credit, if that's your problem, don't worry about it. The Thalen credit approval process will help put you in that newer vehicle that you deserve. Thalen is unbeatable, and they're willing to prove it. Stop in today at any of the Thalen dealerships on North Euclid Avenue in Bay City. Check out their inventory at thinkthalen.com. When you're in need of a vehicle, you think.
The holiday season in mid-Michigan means Zenders, where all kinds of family fun close to home.
Start your stay in one of Zender's many spacious suites. Check-in is 4 p.m.
But you can arrive as early as noon for access to the Splash Village water parks.
50,000 square feet of aquatic adventure for the whole family, including a 4-person 6-story raft ride.
A toddler pool, a 6-story speed slide, or you can just float along the lazy river.
Most guest rooms overlook the new water park.
There's something for everyone at dinner time, too.
Though you won't want to miss out on a world-famous Zender's chicken dinner.
Like to shop? Zender's has all kinds of possibilities. Gift shops for beautiful holiday gift ideas. Collectibles from Swarovski and Pandora, as well as seasonal gift items and more.
Don't forget to take home fresh baked cookies, cakes, or pies from Zender's Bake Shop. Create new family memories this year. Make Zender's your holiday destination. Reservations are available at 800-863-7999
Or visit Zenders.com for more information.
Here today, NHL tomorrow.
Fox Business Network. Last week ended with a big plunge for stocks as crude oil fell, closing 10% lower for the week to a new 7-year low. This week, Fed policymakers meet. It is expected the Fed will raise interest rates 0.25% after its 2-day meeting concludes on Wednesday. It would be the first time the Fed has raised rates in more than 9 years. Daily fantasy sites are back in business in New York after an appeals court issued an emergency stay that allows people to keep on playing. New York State's attorney says the games are illegal gambling operations. And Apple has won an exclusive streaming deal with Taylor Swift to show a concert film from her world tour. Subscribers to Apple's new streaming service will be able to see the film starting on Sunday. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Carol Zimmer.
I had fantastic results with the Andro 400 Max. Probably lost 35 pounds, and more impressive than that was the inches I lost off of my belly and my waist. And the increased energy is fantastic.
Andro 400 Max, the best all-natural testosterone booster. Gain energy, lose belly fat. Go to andro400.com or call 888-400-0435. 888-400-0435.
Art Lewis talks with you about what's happening around your block to around the world. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on WSGW. Back with you here on WSGW. In studio with me, Drs. Wahid Akbar and Sarosh Anwar, both of the Faith of Islam, talking about the world today of Islam and how they feel about it. And we have Paul in Saginaw Township with us, so we will say good morning to Paul. Paul, good morning to you.
Thank you, Art. I'd like to also thank your guests for being here today to share their faith and help us to understand Islam. And if I say anything that perhaps is might sound critical, I by no means mean that. I just will try to express it as best I can. I'd like to call, or the reason I called is to bring attention to my Muslim brothers and sisters in the Middle East, specifically the Coptic Christians, the Syrian Christians, the Somalian Christians, and the Libyan Christians, and the Catholic Christians who are being beheaded, crucified, and whose churches are being destroyed. My question to your guest is this. In the land of Islam, why is there such intolerance and hatred for the Catholics and the Christians, which are loving and peaceful people and who don't seek hatred or killing? They just want to live in peace and worship the way their conscience calls them to worship.
Let's get some response to that, and I'll let you talk again, Paul. Hang on, though. What's your reaction to that?
So first of all, those people who are committing acts of hatred towards people of other faith, I don't believe they are true representatives of Islam. Our scripture, and this is a direct translation, they call Muslims and Jews people of the book in the Quran.
Yes.
And this is a direct translation. Verily, those who believe and those who are Jews and the Sabians and the Christians are those who believe in God in the last day and do righteous deeds. So they shall not fear, nor shall they sorrow. And I can give many other translations, but there are people, perverted people, to whom it's not only their faith, but their particular denomination within the faith, which are the only rightly guided ones. Everyone else is going to hell. And I find it hard to believe that God would create billions of human beings to burn the vast majority of them in hell forever. So that decision is above our pay grade. And eventually when we move on, God willing, we'll find everyone had some bit of right in there. Right. But Muslims took care of Church of the Holy Sculpture for centuries, taking care of it. And still it's a Muslim family who has the keys to it and maintain it.
And also, if you look historically, Paul, this is something new which I've heard Muslims say or do what you just described, which is totally beyond belief. Because I think we have to look at the other way around, and you gave a good example of Syria, you were talking about Libya, you were talking about Egypt, that these Christian communities have lived within these countries, which were Muslim majority countries, for at least 1,000 or longer number of years, very peacefully. So if Islam, as these crazy people claim, is telling them to do these things, how could these communities have survived 1,000 to 1,200 years? This is totally a new phenomena, which these people, again, we have no way to say where they're coming from. If you look at the history of Spain, the 600 or 700 years of Spanish rule of the Muslims rule in that area, they were Christians, they were Jewish people who were part of the Muslim courts. They had the same rights as the Muslims. And I agree with the description you give. We experience that on a daily basis, that the most loving people are the people of the Christian faith and the Jewish faith. I have had teachers, I'm sure Sarosh had, who taught us like we were their children, the way we were taught in our residencies in the U.S. by senior people of Christian faith and Jewish faith. They treated us totally normally. So I agree with you. We have come across the most loving people, and several of them are friends of mine right now as we speak, who are of the Jewish and the Christian faith. So it really is embarrassing for us when we hear what's happening in some of these countries across the Middle East or anywhere else in the world.
This ties into one of your earlier questions, what should Muslims do? So I, for several years, have taught in our Sunday school, where from 11 to 1:30, 2.5 hours, kids from 5 years to about 17 years of age come. There are about 100 kids in there. And I teach the high school students there. And I keep telling them that just by calling yourself a Muslim or a Christian or Jew doesn't mean that you are better or superior. But God looks at our hearts, our intentions, and our actions. And there may be a Christian or a Jew who's a better human being and more loved by God. So this is where it's crucial for our Muslims to get involved in what kind of things do our children hear. I'm the elected president of our local Islamic Center of Saginaw. This is my third 2-year term serving in that capacity. So I screen every single speaker who comes to our Islamic Center, supposed scholar, anyone, to make sure, go through their YouTube videos, that this is a moderate person. So if we sit in meetings or groups and we hear someone spouting hatred or an extremist agenda, we can't be the silent majority any longer. We have to speak out, and that's what I force myself to do now.
One of the things I think, Art, and to the public who's listening, Sarosh has done, and I'm very proud of him. I did it in the past. Rana, my wife, had done it in the past, has done it in the past, and Sarosh has not taken the leadership, is that he will come, and I'm volunteering his time, to anybody who wants, and I'll come myself if he is not available, to talk about our religion at your churches, in your schools, in a public forum if you want to. And also, the reverse is true, that Sarosh has been arranging, and we can arrange for your private group as well, or your religious or non-religious group, to come to our Islamic Center. We can arrange a tour, we can arrange an hour of introduction, we can have a question-answer session. So some of these things which are brought to the public just through television are kind of pushed to the side, that what the real Muslim is like. Come and meet us, we can arrange it. There is a website of the Islamic Center. We can, there's a way of arranging it. The Islamic Center is open to everybody, and we can arrange lectures or visits whenever anybody wants.
Paul?
May I just add something? I would just like to say that just listening to you gentlemen speak, I can tell you have a good heart, and you are excellent spokesmen for your faith. You can always tell when a preacher, a minister, a priest, when they talk, if they're filled with the Holy Spirit. And you can tell those that are just speaking. I can tell that the Holy Spirit is alive in you. And I really appreciate you sharing this information. And I know one doctor, Dr. Shikui in the township, who's an excellent person. He was very kind to my son years ago when my son was in high school, and we were going through some difficult times, and he bought him a used car. Dr. Shikui did that for my son, and he's a wonderful man too. And I'd like to thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for taking my call.
All right, Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you.
I think, we lose sight of the fact that when we talk of Islam, we talk of Judaism, we talk of Christianity, it doesn't matter. These are people we're talking about. It's not a far-off concept. It's down-to-earth, everyday people who get up, put their pants on, put their skirts on like everybody else does, go to work, do their thing, live in the community, support the community, and are part of the community.
I think if you also look at the Muslim community at large, and I'm talking about the Muslim community in the U.S., their level of education, the services they bring to their communities, and if you look at the amount of their interaction or the extent of their interaction with the law is, I would say, the best in this country. Muslims have been the number one people who have been able to bring people to justice if they think there's something in the Islamic Center who is not acting up. If you look at the FBI files, or those have been people who have been reported by the Muslim groups that somebody is not acting. Muslims are law-abiding, and they are one of the best citizens in this country.
We have to take a break. We'll come back with our guests, Drs. Sarosh Anwar and Wahid Akbar, when we return here on the Art Lewis Show, and we'll take another call in a moment. Are you tired of paying for satellite and phone companies and not getting, for example, HD channels, finding out you have to pay more for that? Are you tired of internet that can't keep up with your basic browsing? Are you tired of being locked into a contract? Well, it's time to wake up. Wake up with the Spectrum Triple Play. Open up your eyes with Spectrum TV and take in brilliant HD that's included for free. Get moving with Spectrum Internet, the fastest internet for the price, with speed starting at 60 megabits per second. Catch up with the Spectrum Voice with unlimited calling and local long distance anywhere in the U.S. Switch today to the Spectrum Triple Play for just $29.99 each per month for 12 months when you bundle, and see how Spectrum earns your business every day with no contracts. So just wake up and call 855-75-SWITCH, and you'll get free HD, the fastest internet, unlimited calling when you bundle for only $29.99 per month for each service for 12 months. Call 855-75-SWITCH to find out more. 855-757-9482. That's 855-757-9482. 9:39 on WSGW.
Hi, I'm Kelly from Cranes L&M Appliance Center, formerly L&M Maytag, inviting you to shop Cranes during our Home for the Holiday sale. Any appliance in stock can be delivered in your home by Christmas, but you need to see us today. Get all the details by going to Cranes L&M Facebook. Purchases must be made by December 18th. Shop brands like Frigidaire, GE, Hotpoint, Fisher & Paykel, and Speed Queen. We are located at 3260 Bay Road next to Supreme Flooring in Saginaw. Cranes L&M Appliance. We sell the best to fit every budget from new to reconditioned.
For the best garage doors, service and more, call the Delta Door Doctor. He knows doors. Residential, commercial, we've got them in store. That's the Delta Door Doctor. He knows doors. We've got the selection and we've got the price, and the Delta Door team really treats
to servicing, repairing, or replacing your garage doors and openers, no one does it better than Delta Door. From simple tune-ups and repairs to full replacement and upgrades, you can trust the experts at Delta Door to get the job done right away. Don't settle for anything less than Delta Door's over 75 years of serving the Great Lakes Bay region. Call the garage door experts at Delta Door.
For the best garage doors, service and more, call the Delta Door doctor.
Delta Door, 2835 Universal Drive, Saginaw.
Listen live anytime at WSGW.com. Click the Listen Live link in the upper right-hand corner of the homepage. Welcome back here on the Art Lewis Show on WSGW. We're talking to Drs. Sharosh Anwar and Wahid Akbar, both of the Islam faith, talking about Islam today and their feelings about it. And we have another caller for them. This is Rich in Thomas Township. Rich, good morning.
Good morning, Art, and your guests there. I guess I shouldn't even be calling in because I'm not politically involved in the way the world actually is thinking about Islam and all that. When I look back at Hitler and his regime and the Germans, the same thing was going on at that time. But why I called Wahid is probably, one of the best people in my life. I was crushed by a truck in 87, and he was instrumental in saving me. And since then, I've gone to him for my legs and replacing shoulder and all this. So I've been around him at least 6 times probably. And you will never find anyone better than this man in your life. And thank you.
Rich, thank you for calling.
Thank you. You're very kind, Rich. I remember exactly who you are. Thank you. May God bless you for this call.
Thank you, Rich. Bye-bye now. He says he's not of the political world and all of that, but, there's something about what he said, Wahid, and I've known Wahid a long time, because a call like that humanizes the person. Whether it's Islam, Jew, Christian, I don't care what it is, Buddhist, that takes it down to the human level of who you are as a man and what you do for the community. And I think that's important that we understand that, right, Sarosh?
Absolutely. And that is why when I hear hateful statements lumping all Muslims together, especially for my children, all 3 of whom were born in Saginaw, all 3 are now freshman, sophomore, and junior at Cranbrook, it's harder for them to understand someone who was born into this community and other people hating them just based on not knowing them, but their perception of what all Muslims are like.
All right, so I want to go a little deeper into Islam just for a moment here, because we hear terms, and those of us not of Islam or of the Muslim faith don't understand them all. We have heard about Sharia law. What is Sharia law? And do all Muslims follow it?
Can I just say one thing before I let Sarosh explain the finer details? Interestingly enough, when we, and I understand why we say this, when we use the word Sharia law, we are really saying law. The Arabic word for law is Sharia. So it is surprising that why more Muslims don't explain that. Sharia just means law. So as the word we use here, law, in the West or the English-speaking world, Sharia is used as a word in the Arabic-speaking world.
So it's redundant to say Sharia law.
Right. So, but because it translates into a Muslim law, that is why it is used regularly. So the point I'm trying to make is, and I'm going to use the word Sharia, in the Arab world could be different for each community, each country. It is just interpreted by everybody differently. So if you go looking, and my friend Paul Chaffee, and we have had these discussions with him in a long time. We have looked literally, both of us, in all sincerity for a book on Sharia. We don't find one because there is no universal law. Just like in the Western world, if you go to even to the Library of Congress and say, give me the book on the law, they will look at you. What is this person talking about? Say law on marriage, law in Netherlands, law in Canada, and so on and so forth.
All right. So hold your thoughts. Got to take a break. Then we'll come back and we'll also get a couple more calls in here as we delve a little deeper at 9:40.
The State Theater presents Christmas with the Bijou Orchestra with special guests Carissa Armand and Scott Sowinski, Monday, December 21st. The Bijou is modeled on orchestras found in American theaters in the first part of the 20th century. It is the only ensemble of its kind in the country. Their core repertoire is composed of thousands of arrangements created for use by the pit bands of legit, vaudeville, and silent movie theaters. Virtually every Bijou concert includes music from classical, ragtime, and early jazz eras. Don't miss Christmas with the Bijou Orchestra with special guests Carissa Armand and Scott Sowinski, Monday, December 21st at the State Theater in Bay City. Show starts at 7:30. Tickets start at $17. Students $12. Sponsored in part by Dow Corning, TriStar Trust Bank, and Tom and Kathy Marcus. Get your tickets now at statetheaterbaycity.com. And let's make a date at the State.
Hi, this is Marianne from Warden Interiors of Frankenmuth, and I'd like to take this time to thank all of our customers for another wonderful year. Since 1962, we have been helping our customers warm the look of their homes with a rich, new color of paint, dazzling new flooring, or elegant and efficient window fashions. So from our family to yours, may you have the gladness of Christmas, which is hope, the spirit of Christmas, which is peace, and the heart of Christmas, which is love. Stop in and see us. Warden Interiors on North Main Street in Frankenmuth will help you bring it all together.
It's loose out in front to Hell. He pulls the Karski and scores! Second goal of the game for Darren Hell, and the Red Wings taking the 3-2 lead.
The Red Wings play 7:10 tonight on WSGW, 790 AM.
Welcome back, the Art Lewis Show. In studio with me, Doctors Shiroz Anwar and Wahid Akbar, both of the Islam faith, and both attached, by the way, to the Islamic Center, which was built on Center Road. Not 20 years ago now. It's only been open, what, about 2 years?
5 years.
Is it 5 years?
5 years. Time flies.
Did I blink? What happened? So,
as I say, time flies.
We have a couple of calls. Let's take those, and then we'll get back to our conversation about Sharia. This is Shelley in Saginaw Township, and then we'll get to Norm in Bay City. Shelley, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to comment. I heard Dr. Akbar on there, and I think he knows me. I worked for him many years ago, and he is the most generous, soft-spoken man I have ever worked for. I have never had such a great experience working for a doctor. He is soft-spoken. He never yelled. He never screamed. If anyone wants to go to him, I highly recommend it. But
Keep talking. I'm watching him blush. Keep talking.
Sorry, I debated on calling.
I'm glad you did, though.
But, I just want to say, he's a Muslim man, and he is the most loving man. I've seen him with his children. I've seen him with other activities, and I just want to say that I know Dr. Akbar, and I have told everyone that this man is the best man in the world.
Very good. Shelley, thank you for calling.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. And Norm in Bay City. Norm, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, I had the opportunity to have dinner with a gentleman of the Islam faith, and to bring it kind of local, and being curious, I didn't know a whole lot about Sunni and Shia. I asked that question, which led to ultimately in the discussion, all of a sudden a ridiculing of the Christian faith and how ridiculous it was, and how shaky its beliefs were.
By whom? By the person you were having dinner with?
by the person I was having dinner with. And, and I guess my question, because we're talking about somebody relatively local within 50 miles of here. I guess my question is whether or not there's that intolerance overall, or it just happened to be this person who was expressing what his teacher had.
I will get you an answer to that question. Shiros will answer it in a moment, but I have to ask a question in return.
Absolutely.
Are you telling me that no Christian ever thought that of other religions?
I am not.
But just so we understand.
I am not. I'm not. In general, I believe that most people are good, including most people of the Islam faith.
Sarosh, let's get a response.
Okay. So first of all, wanted to again give you a direct translation from our scripture, where God is telling us, say we have faith in God, and with what has been sent down to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and the tribes, and that which was given to Moses and Jesus and the prophets by their Lord. We make no distinction between any of them, and to him have we submitted. So again, this is what God is telling Muslims in our scripture. And in my eyes, Muslims worship the same God that Christians and Jews do. It's just through ages, as God sent numerous messengers to humanity, prophets, and they brought about the same message: do good deeds, refrain from evil, don't hurt other people. And each of us is trying to find comfort, solace in worshiping the Lord in our own manner. There will always be people who will be full of themselves and think only my particular denomination is the rightly guided one. And I absolutely reject that.
That's so well said. So well said.
It is.
Norm, thank you very much. Appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye now. I don't know anyone could said it better. I have always thought that one of the best things we could do in this country and elsewhere in the world is to make every student, particularly maybe in the early grades, begin to study comparative religion, so that we begin to develop understandings amongst us as to what you believe, what I believe, what someone else believes. And I've always looked at religion. My religion is a matter of faith. It's what I believe to be so. I came to it by birth, and I've accepted it and stayed with it. But it is a matter of personal faith. Sarosh?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Absolutely. It's a personal faith, but I'll also tell you, most of us, as we grow, as our horizons broaden, as we get educated, our own concept of our faith keeps evolving, and it's never static. So my concepts and understanding of my faith 20 years ago were very different from 10 years ago and different from now, and likely will keep evolving. So I don't think faiths are something which are absolutely fixed and only that is the one true version. But our understanding of our faith keeps evolving.
Absolutely. Well, you had some things you wanted to add.
Yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity to really thank the Great Lakes Bay Area people who have been so welcoming. We went through a process of hearing for our Islamic Center when it was built finally in 2011, and the support we got from the community. When people were objecting when there was a small minority, we did not have to stand up and speak for ourselves. Our friends of the non-Muslim faith did. So I wanted to say thank you to all of them, including last Friday, which you know yourself, our group of people came to the Islamic Center after the Friday prayers to help us kind of come back and think that do not be depressed, do not be unhappy with what you hear in some of these headlines. We are all behind you. And the final thing I wanted to say just briefly, somebody asked me, how are we going to solve these problems all over this world? And it sounds facetious, and I'm not facetious, I'm saying this facetiously, because my answer is love. And that means where if we can love each other the way we are told by all our religions, it could be taught by Jesus, it could be Moses or Muhammad, they all told us to love your neighbor. If we can somehow inculcate that, that I think is the way to solve the problems in the world.
And I think too, I remember back to when the Islamic Center was built, there were some compromises on your part. For example, you don't do a public call to prayer.
That is true.
And that is a compromise.
Yes.
The way most mosques operate, is it not?
Yes.
So we were told by the township that we could broadcast it. They said if it becomes a nuisance, it is too loud, then people can complain. But just like they don't stop churches from ringing their bells. But the thing is, nowadays, I don't need a loud call to prayer broadcast over loudspeakers to tell me it's time. There's an app on my iPhone which tells me when it's time for the prayer. So the U.S., it's so wonderful that there's separation of church and state. And I really, really appreciate and deeply admire the wisdom of our founders who brought that in.
How big is the community of Islam here?
I think we have, like all religions, people who come for every week for these services, which is about 200 people come to the township mosque and about 50 to 60 to our Islamic center in downtown. And then on the special occasions, couple of times a year, we have about 400 to 450. We don't have a formal process of registered membership, but I would say the people who attend regularly are about 200, and the biggest size would be about 400 to 450.
Doesn't sound very different from any other religion.
Yes, that is so true.
Well, I want to thank both of you, first of all, for taking time out to come with us today and talk about this. Wahid, I've known you for a long time. Everything that everybody said about you is absolutely true.
Thank you. You're being very kind.
Sarosh, I've known you for a while too, and I know your brother, Rumi, very well. And these are, when I tell you folks, these are really good people. I'm not just stroking them. I mean, these are really good people who not only serve the community as doctors, but contribute to the community in many, many ways. And you are great representatives of your faith.
Thank you. Thank you, Art. But we are very lucky to live among such wonderful, caring people, humans in this area. And just one word about Sharia you had asked.
Yes.
It's more of a bogeyman raised here because there are so many versions of Sharia for Muslims, depending on their denomination. Which one would be established? Yeah. So I would not want Sharia established here because whose particular version is it?
Both of you, thank you very much.
Thank you again, Art. Thank you very much.
To close the hour out in a moment.